Yeah. When we started putting together the city of Dracon Zoic, it was supposed to be a one and done. Well, whatever. I lied to you. You should have known it, though. It's no real surprise. I have an incomplete map, and that just won't do. So today, we're working on that map. You see it? It's right there on the screen. And while that's going on, let's invent some factions for our city. The Dragon Houses. The city is independent and international. It's ruled by an elected council, but not very many people get to vote, so it's not really a democracy at all. I mean, in a city of like 100,000, only maybe 3,000 get to vote. At least half of those votes are placed by the five biggest dragon fiefdoms. In this system, the representatives of a house will often take in, hand deliver the ballots due their constituents in the city. It would be like the family lawyer turning in votes for the whole family, all the family members, without necessarily bothering to ask each and everybody's opinion. Cousin Earl might not even know that he got to vote, but he did. Usually, the winners of the election are known well in advance of election days. These five houses are going to be our first five factions. Use the resources available to you. Now, this isn't Heberon, but there is no reason that you cannot import the work that somebody else has already done. Pick five houses out of the 13 offered, use the feats, and whatever lore fits. Now, in our case, it's going to be actual dragons in charge. You can save yourself so much time this way. The Captain's Guild. This is a faction of more than 1,000 ships' captains who regularly visit Dracon Zoic. Each mark their merchant haulers with green and white checkered signal flags to show pride and solidarity. They have a lot of ties with the locals, including merchants and dock workers. Counting their own crews, they will have between 1 and 4,000 fighting men that they can call upon in the city at any given time. And they do have an agenda, but they try to keep it quiet. They resent the power of the restaurateurs and the dragons. They feel like they're overcharged in docking fees and overregulated in what they can import and export. From their grand keep on the docks, they plot small moves. Long-term dreams aside, they consider it a good year if fees and taxes hold steady and no ships are seized for carrying illegal goods. The perks of belonging to the guild include access to the underground economy of smugglers and black marketeers. The Ruin Forged Privateers. This mercenary group operates 40 ships of the line primarily out of Dracon Zoic. They hunt pirates and raid enemies of the dragons and the city. They don't sail one of the big hippogriff carriers, but they do maintain 2 combat-fitted airships and count 3 adult dragons among their soldiery. The Runeforged seek stability in and around the Zoic, and instability everywhere else. Belonging to these privateers might mean getting called up for duty, but bearing their colors ensures a gentle hand by the city guard. The Pasta Makers Guild. At first look, this is the kind of organization that doesn't actually do what the name says. It's gotta be a cover, right? In fact, the majority of the guild's new money comes from the creation of pasta. It sells international licenses to produce its recipes elsewhere. Also, it maintains a paramilitary force to enforce its dominance over the enterprise. That's where an adventuring type might come into contact with the guild, taking on a job to sail down the coast and enforce a cease and desist order, or skip the formality and burn something or someone to the ground. Despite its unlikely niche, the Pasta Guild has occasionally fulfilled the role of kingmakers. They control about 15% of the city's voting power. As such, if the splits among the dragon houses fall just right, the guild finds itself in a very powerful position. It's rare they vote to forward any agenda of their own, usually only looking where they can produce the most profit. The Bank of the Bay and the Great Gamble. Adventuring is a dirty business in Dracon Zoic. However, it still holds a certain appeal. There are few routes to fame and fortune like it. One need only be brave enough to face the unknown, combined with luck. Oh, so much luck. Some smarts and wisdom. Skills don't hurt either. A little desperation is not a negative. You know, now that I think about it, the stupids might be better than the smarts. It's like playing the lottery. And statistically, you're never going to win, but yet somebody always wins. Dumb, smart, or lucky, the Bank of the Bay will still loan you some money to get you started. They'll get you some basic equipment and maybe even a map. You have to pay them back at a pretty steep rate in treasure and information, but hey, we all know the story of those guys that paid off their debt in one glorious run. An exploration of a small island. All they had to do was kill a few goblins, and they came away with thousands of gold pieces. You didn't hear about the team that froze to death in the mountains, or the one that starved in the desert. Disease, poisons, predators, not to mention the monsters, and other adventurers. But you're not worried about those guys. You're not going to be them. You're going to be a winner. The bank doesn't come out way ahead on these repayments. The goal is to break even there. Where their power comes from is knowledge, and what amounts to blackmail. Survivors of a party might get out of their debt after a failed mission if they give up a good location that might be sold to a more successful fighting group. Then there's the cultural stigma. As a party becomes successful, they do want the fame, but their reputation needs to be spun a bit. Maybe they are actually archaeologists that just happen to run into trouble a lot. Maybe they've been on special missions for some organization, all facilitated by the banks. Public service was the goal all along. Riches, those were secondary. And the bank is always one notice away from screwing all this up, so the relationship continues. For those who succeed, they might be called on for favors. The party continues to gain good leads, but the bank now has some very accomplished soldiers to call on as well. The bank's primary income is from their safety deposit system, the vaults basically, and loans related to ships and shipping. Tangent. The city economy as it might relate to gameplay, kind of by bullet points. There is no need to change your whole system. Gold pieces, silver pieces, copper pieces, all that stuff still applies in the same ratios. The money is close enough to D&D standards. All this extra, it's just flavor. Functionally, you're going to stick to the same thing unless you want to dive deeper into the role-playing or economic aspects. We're going to call gold pieces dragon marks, or just marks. They can only be minted by the dragon fiefs. Foreign gold coins are all going to follow the same standard, and they are used equally inside the city. In the fiefs and a few niche city businesses, using foreign coins might carry a 10% surcharge. If you want to exchange coins in the city, that's going to carry a 2% fee. Coppers are used a lot. They're part of the tipping culture. The number is a benchmark by the Dragon Claw system. It's a rating system for the restaurants. So this is a lot like what we have of the star system. It's a 3-star restaurant, 5-star restaurant, whatever. The standard tipping is for a 1-claw restaurant, 1 pence or 1 copper. 2 claws, 3 pence. 3 claws, 5 pence. 4 claws, 7 pence. And a 5-claw restaurant, 10 pence. We're going to say that over tipping is rare because it usually results in the tip going to managers or ownership. The idea being that something unseemly has occurred for the server to deserve this. Under tipping is very rare as well and highly stigmatized. A tip for poor service is called a double tip, where the amount of coins are neatly stacked, that is the tradition, but they're just kind of unintentionally knocked over to show dissatisfaction. So coins scattered across the table shows a disgruntled customer. If they're neatly stacked, well, that's the way you're supposed to do it. Shows respect, shows that they appreciate what they got there. The bars and other service establishments near the docks do not follow these traditions so much. since they cater a lot to outsiders who don't really care about the local culture or the Dragon Claw system. Servers can make a lot more money here, but it's a job where the employees are automatically considered to be people of low culture. Parents, don't want their children to work here. Being associated with the docks, with these seedier restaurants and such, it's just considered a bad show, bad reputation. You guys know I love playing with rules on economic gaming, so we're just going to get deeper and deeper into these weeds. About 20% of restaurants in the city are owned publicly. In other words, by shareholders, and these shares can be purchased. These fall into two categories, upscale and down. Downscale shares might be in a single establishment or a grouping of them. A 5-year payback is normal. So your purchasing cost, generally for a share, is $1,500. I suggest you keep this all the same to make your life easier, rather than varying it from opportunity to opportunity and business to business. Now that's going to give us a yearly payout of 3d6 minus 3d4 times 100. Right on averages, that's going to give you that 5-year payoff. Every year, there is a 2% chance that the share fails completely. You're just out your money, it's gone, poof. There is a 1% chance annually that it's going to upgrade to an upscale level share. Upscale shares are more likely to be investments in single establishments, but not always. For these, you're going to have to pay 3,500 gold. Yearly payout is 5d6 minus 5d4 plus 2. There is a 1% annual chance of these being downgraded. Shares might be purchased or given out as treasure and rewards. Counterfeit shares are a possibility, and I would make shares recovered in the form of documents that's part of treasure. Definitely need to have somebody verify those. You can add intrigue to your plot with this, but at the very least, I would say they need to be certified, as they've been out of circulation, and that's going to cost the party a little bit of money. All right, back to factions and institutions. Temple of the Tides. The Path of the Tides is more of a philosophy than a religion. There are no gods at the top of the hierarchy, although some gods are considered to be part of the path. Faith is observed through the acknowledgement of low and high tide. So several times a day, worshippers will say a brief prayer. This is something they'll remain aware of. It's going to be more for some people, less for some people. Everybody approaches their faith in a different way, no matter what kind of culture you're in. It is part of this philosophy. One of the main parts is the fall and rise of fortunes. It's just like the tide coming in and coming out. Same thing happens in your life. Sometimes tragedy is unavoidable, even expected, but so is joy. Mechanically, the classes associated with this church operate just like they would otherwise. Different druids, different clerics. You have sea druids that are going to be part of this. You have warlocks that are related to the powers of the ocean. They are going to be a part of this. You can have paladins. The church is definitely going to have those, along with all the other spiritual classes and subclasses. Side note, I do strongly recommend that a part of your world building, if you are a world building DM, is to fill in cases like this. The sea, this religion, it's all fairly important to the city. Depends upon how you want to run your campaign. But fill in subclasses that seem like a natural fit. Right now, we're still in a state with the 2024 rules where we don't have a lot of subclasses. And it looks daunting, it can be daunting, but with a little bit of practice, you can get pretty good at creating subclasses fairly quickly. And there's a lot of homebrew out there that you might want to steal from as well. If you're creating them, don't worry about power creep. You want your custom options to be used. Give the players a reason to do it. The Temple of Tides is seen over by a council with a high priest appointed for 2-year terms. They will shift an agenda over time, but especially recently, they've very much been a voice of peace and reason. A number of life clerics are active in the church, and individuals associated with piracy have been passed over for internal promotions as of late. Okay, that's it. That's our word count. How's the map looking back there? Hopefully done? Done enough? Oh, we might end up doing this again. Is there going to be a third video? A fourth? I don't know. It's a good reason for you to speak up in the comments, though. I very much hope that this has helped. I'm not trying to change anybody's campaign or even encourage you to run something in this city. But maybe I've inspired some little thought or idea into your already amazing build. That is all that I really ever am trying to achieve with these videos. I am so glad that you've all stopped by. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Love you all. Cheers.